Welcome to Clean With Me podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Ronnie.
This is a podcast where we literally walk you through cleaning your house step by step. So let's clean together. I'm Jessica here, and today I want to talk about moving. So for those of you that listened to the last podcast I alluded a little bit to the fact that I am moving, and it's a really just quick random move because we're having issues with neighbors, etc. Our house is too small, so we're getting out of Dodge, right? So it's a minor move. We're going like 20-30 minutes away, and so it's not like a major cross the country move, but I'm going to give you guys some tips how I'm dealing with the stress of moving, things that I'm doing to prepare for moving, things that I'm using to get stuff off my walls because I want my security deposit back. And those of you that have littles or don't, there could be scuff marks from the bed. I have a few scuff marks from where my headboard, because it's a metal headboard, kind of hit the wall a little bit. So there's these black scuff marks that I had to get off. And so I'm going to tell you the supplies that I have gathered. I have not done all of this yet. I have a to-do list, and some of it, I don't have very much stuff. So some of it is going to have to wait until like right before we leave. But we're coming close to the day where we're going to have to move. It's going to be a couple more days. And basically it is going to be a cleaning style episode, but the focus is going to be on moving. Now, if you're doing a big cross-country move that's, maybe you have a huge house that you've lived at for years, tons of accumulated stuff, which we do have accumulated stuff, but since we live in such a small house, a lot of our stuff is still in storage. So part of the move, instead of moving everything from the house, we're going to have to move stuff from our house and then go to storage and get stuff out of storage. So kind of similar, but if you're doing a big cross-country move, me and my family have done that multiple times. And my mom actually did an episode back in the day. It's an older episode. I will link it in the description. And also it's on cleanwithmepodcast.com under popular episodes. And my mom did a very in-depth episode about a major move. So I would suggest starting out with my episode to get the preparations going, even if you're doing a minor or a large move. And then if you're just doing a minor move, then you might not need the other episode. But it's good to listen to both of them if you're moving, because she has a lot of different insight than I do. I've never moved myself across the country. I've only moved with my parents when I was younger, and then most of my moves are just around Fort Worth. So moving on, first thing I want to talk about is supplies. So the things that have been essential to me in this getting my house ready process is painting. We're going to have to probably do some painting, but I don't want to do a lot of painting, right? So I was doing some research and stuff that I've used in the past, and definitely magic erasers are a must. I'm accumulating tons of those, and I've been slowly getting spots off my walls. There's a lot more than I thought there were, because, you don't think about it once you start moving furniture. You start seeing I found a bunch of little J's on the wall when my daughter learned how to write a J. There was a time period where she'd write J's on everything. So I'm finding a bunch of little J's that I need to scrub off. And then, like I said, scuff marks, just cleaning your doors, cleaning your walls, baseboards, that kind of stuff. It could get tedious. So I would suggest starting that stuff right now. So if you're like me and I have a week to move, right? Maybe a little less than a week now. So the things that I'm starting to do, I'm not worrying about packing quite yet. First thing I'm doing is I am worrying about getting the walls clean. So I'm picking an area of my house, let's say kitchen first, and I am getting all of the major cleaning things done in the kitchen. And that includes organization, because even though I still need some of the stuff that I need my pots and pans for cooking and stuff this last week, and I'm going to wait till the last couple days to pack all that stuff, I still want it really easily accessible and organized for when I move. So I will get in more detail with that, but still talking about supplies, magic eraser. There's a stuff called the pink stuff. It's got kind of a grainy something material in it, and I'm not sure what brand it is. It is a little bit pricey, but it's really good for getting marker and stuff off the wall, because it kind of takes the elbow grease out of it. You still have to scrub a little bit, but it's got like something grainy in it, like almost a sandy type texture in the putty. It's like a putty material. You put it on the wall, and you can use a scrub brush or a microfiber cloth or a magic eraser if you want to double down on it. And or you could just use a microfiber cloth, whatever works for you. That's been working for me. And then you get it slightly damp and you just scrub that stuff on whatever marker is all over the wall, scuff mark, and that's been working great. But there are things that you cannot scrub off, and you don't want to waste all of your time trying to get a single couple marks off the wall that aren't coming off. So if the pink stuff doesn't do it, if magic erasers aren't doing it, you might need to paint some spots. And I did used to work at a paint store, so and I have moved out of a few rent houses. And this is kind of based on rent house, because I'm moving out of a rent house, so it has to look nice. But this could apply if you're selling your house as well, because you want to stage your house. You want the house to look nice while you're having showings and stuff like that. And I'll talk a little bit about that too, because I have experienced that, even though I'm moving out of a rent house into another rent house right now. I have experienced staging the house and showings and stuff, and my mom gets more into detail about that in her episode. So definitely, if you're going through that and you're actually selling a house, listen to her episode as well. But, so if that stuff's not working, you want to also have some paint on hand. Now, if you live in an apartment complex, call all the major paint stores near that apartment complex. Because when I used to work at Sherwin-Williams years ago, they usually had the paint of the apartment complex on file, the formula. And usually the formula is made for 5-gallon buckets, but they're able to kind of whip up something similar for you. Because if you're not familiar with paint and the way, there's like 1,000 different whites, okay? You can have thousands of variations of off-white. And a lot of times these apartment complexes all use the same exact paint. So if that's the case, if you live in a big apartment complex, definitely whatever paint, maybe call the office and ask what company they use. That's usually what I would tell my customers to do. I'd be like, call your apartment complex, ask them what company they use, and then call and get the formula. And honestly, if you're just touching up, you can just use like a little sample. I would just get a little quart of paint. Even if you're using the good stuff, you can just get a little quart. It's no more than $16 at the most. And just, if you have the exact color, it's not going to look perfect. If you spot paint, it's still going to be a little bit spotty, but that way you'll have the exact sheen, exact color, and it's going to look a lot better than if you did nothing. If you want to paint the whole wall, like let's say your walls are terrible, definitely still clean them first. And if you have a lot of ground to cover and you're going to paint the whole wall anyway, you can use a mop or a scrub brush or whatever. But if you have like a lot of ground to cover and you're trying to get the whole wall, you can use a mop on your wall and clean it off, wipe it off, and then just do a thorough painting, because you're going to have to do like 15 layers of paint if there's still marker on the wall. So I would definitely get that off first. And while we're on paint, if you don't live in an apartment complex and you have no idea, you don't have any leftover paint in the garage that the previous owners left behind or you left behind when you painted your house, and you're trying to touch up and make your house look nice for showings or to move out, or for the landlord not to charge you or what have you. Usually paint stores, the one I worked in, you can get a chip about the size of a quarter off of an area that's peeling. Get some kind of, find a place that's not visible, of course. Get a little paint chip about, they like bigger the better, but if you can get something at least the size of a quarter, usually they're able to color match that. And if they don't have Sherwin-Williams does have a color match machine. I don't know if other paint stores do, because I didn't work at other paint stores. I know some do. But they're usually really good at matching paint. And even if they're not, and you're just doing this by yourself, you can go to Color Cards and just find the best match. If you're doing it that way, you might have to do a whole wall. But again, it'll blend well enough that you probably can spot paint it and it'll still look good. Now, sheen is the most important when you're painting. I know I'm going really into painting, but this is a big deal when you're moving out of a house a lot of times. So I just want to use my knowledge and just pass it on really quick. So if you're not interested in this part, you can just skip over it. But for me, it's kind of a big deal when I'm moving out, because usually I don't leave a lot of damage at all, because I'm not like ripping the place apart, but my kids do leave scuff marks, markers, etc. on the wall. So after I'm done scrubbing, I do need to usually paint a little bit. So one more thing in painting, you don't, when you're doing just little spots, right? The thing that's going to stand out the most is if you get something that's the wrong shininess or sheen. So most houses use satin or an eggplant finish. What is it called? It's been a while since I worked at the paint store, okay? Eggshell. Sorry, not eggplant. Eggshell or satin finish. It's been a minute since I worked at a paint store, okay, guys? But satin or eggshell is medium sheen, and that's usually used in living rooms or what have you. Cheap apartment complexes usually use either satin or matte. Now, matte would be no shininess. So if you live in a cheap apartment and there's no shininess at all to your walls and they are really hard to clean, they leave like a little mark when you try to scrub it, a dark mark, they're probably matte. If there's no shine at all, it's matte. If it might leave a little mark when you try to scrub it. Cheap paint does that, so you might need to paint over it. If there's it's a little bit shiny, but not like in your face shiny, it's usually satin or eggshell, and different companies call it different things, but satin and eggshell are typically the same thing. And then if it's super shiny, which is typically used in restrooms to protect the walls from damage from moisture, in my experience in working at the paint store, bathrooms usually use a shinier finish. So they usually use the shiniest option. But still look at your walls and determine whether they're super shiny. Are these shinier than my living room? And you can usually tell that way. That way, because if you look at the wall in a different angle and you use the wrong sheen, it's going to show and it's going to stand out and it's going to look really blotchy and weird. So I'll quit talking about paint for now, but that's definitely important. I would get that together. If you're planning on moving, that's a good thing to do in preparation of the move. Now, second thing I want to talk to you guys about is cleaning and organizing to prepare for packing. So what I'm doing right now, because I don't have a lot of stuff, if you do have a lot of stuff, then start packing up garages, coat closets, things that you don't use, photo albums, extra extra kitchenware that you only use on the holidays, that kind of thing. Winter wear if it's not winter, cold where you are, summer if it's already cold where you are, whatever you're not using, you can pack. But if you're like me and you just don't have a lot of things, you got to focus on cleaning and organizing. That way, when it's time to pack, you throw everything in a box and you're good to go. And I also have been gathering packing materials. So boxes, yes, you can buy them from Home Depot. You can buy them from places like that, Walmart, whatever. But usually if you go into a Costco, a Sam's Club, a Walmart, and ask, hey, can I have some boxes? They usually have tons of boxes in the back and they'll give them to you for free. That's what we've always done in the past when we've moved, is I'll go to a big store. Costco's usually the best, Sam's Club's the best, Walmart, stuff like that. And I'll just be like, hey, do you guys have any big boxes? And usually they're not huge, but I don't like huge boxes personally when I'm moving because I can't carry them myself. When you get these gigantor boxes from Home Depot, because I have my husband, when we moved in the past, he went by himself and bought some boxes from Home Depot because he hasn't moved as often as me. His parents had lived in the same place since he was a little kid. So he hasn't moved 1,000 times like I have. So he went and bought them from Home Depot, but he bought these giant ones. And one, you have to really secure the bottom of those because they can give out from the weight. Two, nobody can lift those things. We were having to put them on dollies, and it's just a big pain in the butt. I couldn't do it myself. My husband had to carry them. It was a nightmare. So I like the little size boxes that they have for free at stores. So I prefer those size. I'd prefer a bunch of little boxes that I can carry easily. And then you just have Sharpies on hand. Make sure you have plenty of Sharpies for when you do pack, boxes for when you do pack, and then you label them according to room. Then it's real easy if you have movers. They know what room to put them in. If you don't have movers, you're doing it yourself. My husband has a trailer for work, so we're going to use his little travel trailer, fill it up with stuff, and just make a couple. Since we're just moving down the road, we're just going to make a couple trips. If you're going in a U-Haul, you definitely want things labeled really well. Fragile if they're kitchenware, fragile if it's anything crazy, right? And then based on the room, so you could just put the stuff in the room. Unpacking is really easy. And again, you want to organize stuff that you cannot pack yet, because right now I know what's coming. So every chance I get, and maybe not even as often as I should be, like I should be kicking it into high gear at this point. I've been kind of diddle-dallying with the walls and cleaning the walls and painting the walls and stuff like that, but I really need to be focusing on organization. So getting your refrigerator down to the bare minimum right before you're about to move, a couple days before. Do not load up on groceries. You might have to eat out more than usual because, one, you might have your kitchen stuff packed. Maybe, I know a lot of people don't like to waste with paper plates and stuff, but if you want to go ahead and get it over with and pack up your kitchen stuff, maybe just get microwave stuff for the last few days. Buy some paper plates and bowls and silverware and stuff so that you can use that while everything's getting packed up. Those are tips that you could use. That way you could pack everything up if you want to just get it over with. My little kids like to help, but they've also been counterproductive and something that they want to be involved. So if you do have small children and you're moving and they're getting in the way and you're kind of irritated by it, I would suggest giving them something to do that's involved in the move. They want to feel like they're helping. And I told them they can clean to help me, and they're like, what? No, that's not fun. Like, that's not moving related. They don't think of organization and cleaning as moving related, because that's what stage I'm in. They're like, that's not fun. I want to move. I want to pack stuff. And then when I was cleaning the kitchen the other day, they took all of the clothes out of their drawer and put them in backpacks and suitcases. So I had to unpack all of that and put it back in the drawer, and I'm like, We're not even packing your clothes. So that's another tip I have while I'm talking about that. So first step, walls. Second step, gather supplies. Or first step, gather supplies. But it's included in the first. Second step, organize your house. Make sure there's no junk drawers. Everything's your little by little, and don't make, I know it can be super overwhelming. I'm overwhelmed myself, but how I handle the stress and being overwhelmed is what I do is I take it one room at a time, one drawer at a time. Today I'm going to do the kitchen, and then if I don't finish the kitchen, I only finish a couple cabinets. I finished a couple cabinets, and I just get rid of stuff that needs to be gotten rid of. I clean it up, scrub the inside of my cabinets. That way, when it's time to pack, I just take the stuff out, put it in a box, use some newspaper to stuff it. We're good to go, right? Another thing good to gather, stuff to wrap glass in, newspaper, stuff like that. Be getting that stuff too and gathering supplies. And sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained, so I'm kind of like all over the place here. So just try to bear with me. That's how my brain works, and I'm just all over the place. But so as you're organizing stuff, I want to say a little thing about clothing since the kids did do that. One thing that I do like to do that makes it a little easier is if there's dressers with clothes in it and you don't have to necessarily pack all of those clothes. If you have a nicely organized drawer, now you don't want to take drawers that are completely unorganized and a wreck into a new house, because when you're starting into a new house, you want to start fresh and new. So you don't want to, like my dresser right now, even though I often organize and clean it, it's a wreck again. Mostly because we don't have storage. So I'm super excited about the new house, because the reason why my clothes are always a wreck and get really unorganized really quickly and my kids are always organized is because they have less junk and I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to my clothes. So I am going to organize my dresser before I do this, but after you organize your dresser, sometimes it's easier than just packing clothes that, like, obviously if clothes are hanging up, pack them. But I like to just tape up with masking tape my dressers and put them into whatever U-Haul or trailer or whatever truck, whatever I'm using to move. I like to just tape them up with the clothes still inside, and then on the tape I'll write which room they go in. If someone else is helping me, if I'm doing it myself with helpers or something, friends, then I don't label them. But if someone else is moving for you, tape them up really well so that the drawers don't come out, and then label on the tape what room they go in. And that's just so you don't have to, pack extra boxes. You could just tape up your drawers. And some of this may be common sense to you guys. You may be thinking like, yeah, duh, but if you never moved before, like my husband didn't know all this stuff. This was all new to him when I was taping up dresser doors. He's like, yeah, let's just do that with all of them. He, like I said, hasn't moved a whole lot. He likes to stay in the same place, and, we've just been financially in a place where we're moving around a lot. And then, so lately he's well-versed now in moving, but I'm talking in the past. So that's a good tip, just taping up your drawers. Another thing I would like to talk about is, again, not biting off more than you can chew. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, this is too much, I'm stressed, I have 3 days, nothing's done. I have moved I am a procrastinator, okay? And I'm going to put my husband on blast, and this was a fight we had back in the day, but I'm just going to go ahead and be raw with you guys and tell you the truth, because I feel like it's relevant. So, probably shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, but when those of you that are have been listening for a long time know that there was a short period where we were separated, and that's why we're kind of in this small little rent house on a ranch, because I had moved there with the girls for a few months when we separated, and he was living in our old house that was a rent house, but it was bigger, and the owner of the rent house decided to sell the house once our lease ended. So my husband was continuing to pay over there, and then I was paying for this month-to-month lease rent house. So when he was going to move out, I still had a lot of my big ticket items there and a lot of stuff that I didn't use, like, a wagon my grandpa made me, because I don't have a yard at the house I currently live in, really. I didn't really have a place for the wagon. I didn't have a place for, like, these big dressers, and I just couldn't lift them myself. So, and there was a lot of stuff that was mine that was still over there. Cribs, beds, stuff like that. So, he was going to pay, long story short, he was going to pay a prorated rent to be there for an extra week so that we had a week to move out, because I was living in another place and working full time. So we had scheduled a time between us, and then he was going to come stay back with me because we were getting back together. But we were still kind of on the rocks and not good at communicating. And anyway, he had told me that we had a week to move. He decided last minute, when I had gotten off work at like 6:30, I came to pick up the kids, and he had his trailer and he was actively moving stuff out. And I was like, "You're moving stuff out today?" Because we had scheduled it for the next week on Thursday for me to come move my stuff. And he goes, "Well, I decided not to pay the prorated rent, so we have 24 hours to move everything." And it was already like 7. And basically we needed to be out by the next day and the house cleaned and everything. And I had been staying and living somewhere else. So talk about crunch for time. And that was 100% his fault, and we still fight about it. Moving on. Anyway, we had to hit the ground running. He had one friend helping, so it was me, him, and a friend, and 2 little babies at the time. They were little. So I asked my friend to come take the babies for me. Luckily, she helped, and then we just busted our humps getting this house clean and getting everything moved. At one point, I would not recommend doing this last minute because he was so pressed for time. I remember at one point, I just remembered this while bringing it up. He literally had a dresser like fall on him as he was coming up a ramp with the dolly, and he could have seriously injured himself because we were trying to hurry so much and we didn't have enough helpers. Like, if he would have just waited, we would have had tons of people to help us. Because I had planned on having a couple family members come help, of his family members come help us move and stuff on Thursday, the day we were supposed to move. So, long story short, all that to say this, we were able to completely move out of the house. It was a nightmare. We shouldn't have done it, but we moved out, and he stayed there till 2 a.m. I did not stay the entire time because I was mad at him, but I got all of my stuff out, and he finished the cleaning process since he had been living there. So he stayed till like 2-3 in the morning. But we moved out an entire house, and he had not organized. He hadn't done anything. Like, everything was just everywhere. We had a whole garage full of stuff, and we were able to do that in one day. So I promise you guys, and that's what I keep telling myself. I keep going back to that day and thinking, I don't want that to be me, so I'm going to prepare, and I have been. But also, if I was able to do that in a couple hours, just me, him, and a friend, then we can definitely move out of this tiny place in a week. So I'm trying to just go back to that and remember that and hold on to that. And I want you guys to hold on to that too, and remember, it doesn't matter how crazy it seems. Maybe you've gotten evicted. Maybe something ridiculous happen, like in my case, I have this weird random problem with the neighbors, and yes, my lease is month to month at this place. It's a really odd situation, but I've been there for 2.5 years now, so it was kind of out of nowhere that we're moving. And it was unexpected, but if you get evicted or you have to move suddenly because your owner decides to sell, which was the case for the old house, or something like that, you have a month's notice. Just take it easy. Don't stress out. Breathe. And try not to procrastinate. And just think about my crazy... I could add a lot of more details. Let's just say it was a nightmare. We got it done, but it was a nightmare. Think about that. Think about my story, and you don't want to be that person. If you are, that's okay. If you end up in that place, you can do it. You can definitely bust it out and get it done and get moved. But it's also better to move in small increments, especially if you can't afford a U-Haul or something. Now, if you're moving across the country, you're getting a U-Haul, you have movers and everything. Still, you want to focus on organizing. So, like I said, one room at a time, we're going to review. Cleaning up. And as you move furniture, you're going to notice more things to clean up. So keep those supplies and stuff on hand. Once everything was out of the house, then I did the little things. I'm thinking of last time when I moved out of an apartment that was super strict, and they would charge even if like there was missing light bulbs, stuff like that. I brought a friend. I think I brought my mom. My mom was in town, I think, when we left the apartment. I was pregnant, so we needed a bunch of help because I was pregnant with my first and it was a 3rd-story apartment. And after everything was out, we had noticed a lot more like little scuff marks and spots on the carpet. That's another thing. I do not have carpeting, so I forgot to mention it. But carpeting, there's going to be a lot of traffic in and out as you're moving, so I would save that till last. You could do a shampoo. You can rent shampooers from... Just look up places in your area. Back in the day, my dad used to rent shampooers from grocery stores. I don't know if they still do that. Some places do. Just look up a place in your area that you can rent a place to shampoo your carpet, and that's really good. You do a spot clean with some carpet cleaner first once all the furniture is out and everything, and then you can go over it with a shampooer, and that usually does the trick. Even if you have a really bad carpet situation, that usually does the trick in most cases. And then I went and bleached all of the bathroom, bathtubs, toilet, got all the, spots off of everything, replaced all the light bulbs, dusted everything. I way over cleaned the place because I had seen in the reviews that they were really strict about cleaning. So, all that being said, the main thing, if you get anything from this rant about moving, because I know I was a little bit all over the place, I want you guys to get preparation is key. So even if you don't have a lot of time, even if you're like me and you have 1 week, that's still enough time to prep. That's still enough time to go in and one room at a time organize. And now we're getting to a point where we have a couple days. So like I said, I'm going to get some plastic silverware and stuff like that. And I'm going to start packing one room at a time. But I have been working on organizing. I still have to do my dresser drawer. So that's something that I need to do. My closet, pretty much cleaned out. I do have some bags of stuff that my husband drives him nuts. He doesn't know why I keep it. It's just between you and me. I'm a hoarder when it comes to clothes. I don't know why I have so much trouble getting rid of clothes, but I have these bags of clothes that are like old costumes and miscellaneous stuff that I don't even wear. Probably need to throw them away. If I get the strength, I will throw them away for this move. But they are sitting outside in the storage area. And I need to probably get rid of that stuff. But that's something that I need to go through today. So after work, I'm going to go through that. And that's kind of the main problem area for me, is going to be that. We cleaned underneath the bed and the couches the other day again. And because I had been keeping up on that lately, that wasn't that much of a big deal. I've been working on catching up on laundry, because you don't want to take dirty laundry into a new house. So definitely catch up on laundry, get all of your laundry done. There are just little things like that that you don't think of as moving things, because you want to get to the big stuff, the packing. But before you start packing, I would commend you guys to just one room at a time. Throw some laundry in while you're doing it. That way you're getting all of your laundry done. And then slowly start packing stuff away, like as you're, washing extra comforters or something from your closet, or organizing extra comforters. Maybe you could put that in a box and pack that up. Just little things like that that aren't necessities that you don't need, you can pack. And then organize under your bed, clean under your bed. If you have storage containers under your bed, those can get taped up. Like, I have storage containers of out of season clothing underneath my bed. All that I have to do with that is tape it up, and so it doesn't open in transit. Put a label on it, and if you don't want to draw directly on the box, just put a piece of painter's tape right where it's going. And again, moving on to the living room, my husband did the toys for me. He went through all the toys, got rid of the bad ones and all that. So all we're going to have to do is put all the toys in a box. That's done. Good to go. Ready. All I have to do now is my pantry. I'm going to have to go through my pantry and make sure that everything we're taking, it's okay to get rid of stuff. If you don't want to take a bunch of food over to the new house, I would recommend maybe giving it to a neighbor. Some people, if you're moving far, you're going to want to get rid of all of your random condiments and stuff, because they're not going to survive the move. Get everything together, clean them off, and maybe give them to a neighbor or something, or ask a neighbor. I remember one time my mom moved and she gave me this huge bin full of spices. And I was like, yeah, I got this huge thing of spices, because my mom was like, I have this oversupply of spices. And that's an example of purging as you're moving. So one last thing I want to address, since I just mentioned it, is purge, purge, purge. You don't want to take junk into a new house. It's real easy that when you're down to the nitty gritty, the last few minutes, you want to hold on to stuff. You're like, I'm just going to take all this stuff from this drawer full of crap, and I'm just going to throw it in a box and just mark it miscellaneous. And sometimes, I've done that before. I'm not going to lie. I've just thrown say you didn't organize underneath your kitchen cabinet, and it's just this mangled mess, and you just throw everything in a box and you put miscellaneous bathroom. Well, yes, you can do that, but when you get to the new house, how irritating is that you're going to have to go through everything, organize it, throw stuff away. So let's go ahead and do that stuff now. That way you're in a fresh new place. The house is nice and clean. You clean all of your house before. You unpack. You're doing your cleaning of the new house. It's fun. It's exciting. And you get to decorate and do all the good fun stuff. And then you open this box of just junk that you threw in a box. And that's going to be irritating. You're going to be like, man, I wish I just went through this. And, because when you move into a new house, you want to decorate, and you want everything to look nice, and you want to get to the fun stuff. You want to make your house look homey and feel like home, and put candles up and fall decor, and that's what I'm excited about, is decorating for fall. So that's been my inspiration. Think of what inspires you to do, the cleaning that you need to do, and focus on that. I've been focusing on how fun it is, and I've even talked about this with my 17-year-old stepdaughter. We've been excited. I'm going to decorate the room this way. We're going to put our, we're thinking about where we're going to put our things, and if we move here, we're going to put our stuff here because we applied to multiple places. And please, if you guys are prayers, please pray that we get approved for these places. I'm waiting to hear back, but I found the perfect place, and it would not uproot my family. My kids can stay in their school, and we're really, really hoping for it. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, which we desperately need more room. And we have 4 girls, so even though the other 2 only stay with us sometimes, we definitely need 2 bathrooms. I'm tired of having one, and it has this cute little backyard that you can see directly into the backyard with the 2. It's got these big glass doors in the master that outlook the backyard, and the backyard isn't too big. It's small, so I could see the whole backyard, and the kids could play like while I do my podcast stuff. It's just great, and you can tell by my voice I'm super excited. So I really hope I get it. So please pray that we get into that house. I'm really excited about it. And anyway, it's fun to imagine decorating and stuff. So just think, to get to that point, we have to clean, we have to do the organization, but don't think of it as a negative thing. We have to do the laundry, but don't think of it as a negative thing. Just remember the end goal. You're going to get to the new house. Everything's already going to be done, organized, clean, fresh start. You're not going to have all the junk that you accumulated because you got rid of a bunch of stuff. You purged a bunch of stuff. As you're going through closets and coat closets, think, do I need these things? Now, sometimes we have like blankets and stuff for if visitors come and stuff, and we don't use those things every day, but they are needed. So think, do I need this thing that I haven't seen in months, or do I need to throw it away? And get rid of a lot of things, especially garage storage. After we get through this move, we're going to go to our storage unit, because if we do get the house that we want, it does have a garage, so we're not going to need a storage unit anymore. And we're going to get rid of a lot of stuff that we put in storage probably too, because like I said, when we moved out really quickly and put a bunch of stuff in storage, we were kind of just throwing stuff in boxes, and because we only had one night to do it, and it was a nightmare. So we're going to have to deal with that stuff now. And that's all it is when you procrastinate and put stuff off. You're just putting more work on yourself for later. And then you're putting off the fun stuff, the decorating and stuff. So just keep that in mind. Think about when you're doing the little tedious stuff like cleaning walls, spot painting, scrubbing scuff marks, scrubbing toilets, bathtubs, underneath the bed, floors, carpeting, blinds. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. My brain's all over the place. Blinds. My blinds are actually in good condition, surprisingly. Over the 2.5 years, my kids have not destroyed them, because in the past that we've had to get new blinds when we moved because my kids. So I made them not, I was like, don't touch the blinds. I was super psycho about it. But if you do have blinds, look up on YouTube how to restring the blinds. And a lot of times if your kids broke a few, there's usually some extra, if you have those big, the big, I don't know what they're called, but the blinds that are like wooden and they're kind of large. Even the little cheapy ones, blinds that are real bendy, I don't know what they're made out of, but you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they have extra ones gathered at the bottom that's just extra. And there is a way on YouTube, it's really tedious, but you can restring them instead of buying new ones and replace the ones that are messed up, and you just go up to the messed up one and then take them all off and then restring them using the extra ones at the bottom. I would look it up on YouTube and do that if you do not have the money to buy new blinds, if your blinds are messed up in the move. But I hope you got something out of this. If you guys want a part 2, let me know on Facebook. Don't forget to check out my mom's episode that I will link in the description. And also, it's on cleanwithmepodcast.com. It's called, Advice on Moving, I think. not sure of the actual title, but it's definitely on the website. I just checked and made sure. I listened to it, and it's more in depth and about a bigger move. So if you want some more on moving and you're in this same situation as me or a similar one, or you're moving cross country or something, I would definitely want you guys to give it a listen. And if you're not moving and you're just listening to this and trying to get motivation, maybe pretend like if I were to move right now, would I have a bunch of junk, and go room to room and organize and do like a spring cleaning as if you were moving. Because sometimes if we're in a forever home and we're going to be there forever, and you want to grow old in the house, things accumulate over years and years and years. And if we don't go through that stuff and purge every once in a while and do some fall cleaning, then it's just going to keep accumulating until we have just a bunch of junk that we have to cart around. So maybe use this episode to do some spring cleaning as if you're moving. But I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I'm going to definitely use my mom's episode to help myself move, and this episode and the things I talked about. I'm going to continue doing it, and hopefully everything turns out good. I will update you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, happy cleaning, guys.